Since yesterday's video, I've had quite a few people message me, some of them being developers, and the situation regarding Meta and the studios being shut down and the money being pulled back from Meta Reality Labs and Horizon. There's actually something else that has happened since then, or even before all this was announced, and that was the fact that there was several exclusive games already being worked on, not just by the studios they've cut, but other developers that I've been told about. Now, this comes from I think, a very reliable source. I can't share that source. They want to remain anonymous. What I've been told, I thought I wanted to share with you guys so you can understand maybe what is actually happening at Meta. Now, as I said, Meta cancelled several exclusive games, one of which was going to be a Harry Potter official VR game, and it was being made by Skydance. One, I think Skydance would have done a stellar job actually doing this, and two, I think an IP like Harry Potter being in VR would have been absolutely brilliant. Also, the recent Cloud Games announcement where they laid off 70% of their staff, those 70% were working on one of those exclusive IPs, and when Meta pulled the funding, they got rid of all the people working on that project. Now, the crazy part of all of this is that Meta had already invested 60 million into making these new VR games for 2026 by the sounds of it, and then they've just cut funding to everything, and they've closed the projects down. Now, as I said in yesterday's video, Meta have always been one of the biggest spenders in VR. In fact, I'm sure they've invested more than anyone else, and they are the ones who have come the closest to almost getting some sort of mass adoption for VR with Quest 2. But now it seems they are doing a full 180 turn, putting their investments back in, I guess, the short term to then invest in a more longer term approach. So what I've been told is everything is now going to be all put into, in VR terms, into a new headset that's going to come out in 2027, 2028. That isn't necessarily new. What we don't know is whether we're talking about the Quest 4, or I think it's called the Meta Phoenix project. And I imagine because of the time gap, so we've got Steam Frame coming out, and then you're going to have like 2 years of no new hardware from Meta. What this could mean is this Quest 4 or the Meta Phoenix is probably going to be a pretty powerful headset. It's going to have some really good tech bundled into it. What I've also been told is that's like their final push. This headset will be the all or nothing scenario where if they don't get a return on investment, which is the main problem of all of this, return on investment, pouring tons of money, what looks like to be just a big hole, and they're not getting anything back, which is why everything is changing. Because I think Meta believe now that AR wearables, smart glasses, they are what is going to recoup the company. That is what everyone wants, and that's what everyone's going to invest in. So they've also now, and this was due to a news article that I read, that they've doubled their production numbers for their next turn of smart glasses, going from 10 million to 20 million. And personally, as an owner of Meta Ray-Bans Gen 1 and 2, I think they're brilliant. I do. I absolutely love them. Do I love them as much as my VR headset, though? Absolutely not. They're just something that I can make videos on holiday with, or listen to music, or take calls on. That's all really great, but they're nowhere near anything that I would class as more important than a VR headset. But that's, to me, that's I'm not the I guess I'm not the consumer they're trying to market for. I'm a general tech enthusiast. I try and enjoy everything. One thing I'm starting to hear about as well is that very important people who are part of Meta Gaming or Meta VR have also been let go. In particular, one person, I'm not going to say their name, but they were the person that a lot of developers would go to seek funding, investment, for marketing. A lot of that team who did that for Meta are also been let go. So that really does paint an even darker image of what is happening to VR gaming in 2026. And as I said yesterday, I don't want to be too much of a downer on all this stuff. I do believe that 2026 will be the year of some great games that are already been announced. PSVR games, Steam Frame, hopefully, I can't wait to get my hands on Steam Frame and see what that headset does. And obviously VR mods. I've also learned that some developers have made some internal cuts to their staff as well due to everything happening with Meta. And a lot of this isn't being shared publicly. And I think the reason is because how this looks on the outside to investors like you and me, if you're thinking of buying a game from a particular developer and then you hear they're cutting staff, you're going to be thinking like, what's going to happen to the future of this game? Is it even going to happen, or will this game continue to be supported if they're already cutting down team sizes? So I think, even though I've been told some developers, which I was quite surprised about, I'm not going to share them because it's up to them if they want to tell everyone what's going on internally. And I think overall this paints an image of where VR gaming is right now in regards to returns for investment. Developers are struggling. You know, they're struggling to recoup their funds, investing in these like really big IPs. Even games like Thief, Reach, Marvel's Deadpool VR, we just don't know how much money is put into these games and obviously how much they're making from sales. But overall, I think in general, it's less. It's much less than what they put into them. So overall, it does look like Meta are going into survival mode, you know, kind of like a hibernation. That's not to say they're leaving VR. I do think we're still going to get updates for the Horizon OS. I do also still think we're going to get some new games that we don't know about. But overall, I think it's going to be a quieter year in terms of MetaQuest news and MetaQuest games. I just want to say, like, I kind of appreciate everything that Meta have done. I see so many mixed takes on how Meta have ruined VR in a lot of ways. And I just don't share that opinion. There's like Asgard's Wrath 2, Lone Echo 2, Medal of Honor, Batman, Marvel's Deadpool, like, and they're just like me scratching the surface. I'm sure there's so many games that they've invested in, Oculus Studios, Star Wars Vader Immortal series. There's so many games that I'm grateful for that I played. It's a real shame they turned their back on PSVR because personally, I always like to play games on the move with Quest and then play the PSVR versions at home, but that soon stopped as they wanted to really get everyone into standalone hardware. And I don't think standalone really wowed anyone enough graphically, especially in comparison to PSVR. So that was always going to be a tough move. And also with the Horizon stuff, it also looks like they're going to be using Horizon as a mobile gaming platform. And I think we've seen that with some of the Horizon games that recently launched. There was no VR mode for those games. And to me, this seems a bit wild. Like, the Meta app itself is surely only downloaded by people who have got a VR headset. Like, you get a VR headset, you get the Meta app. I'm not sure who gets the Meta app without owning a VR headset. So I don't really understand. Maybe there's something I don't understand. I would love to know. In fact, I actually invited Andrew Bosworth to me and Bradley's podcast. We're probably too small for him to be bothered with, but I've seen him do developer talks on their own channel, and we actually get more views than Meta do on their own stuff. So I kind of thought maybe there's an opportunity that he might want to talk to us and shed some light on everything that's going on, but I doubt that's going to happen. So yeah, overall, again, still very strange times going on. I just wanted you guys to know that Meta were originally pouring even more money into VR. And it sounds like some of those games are going to come this year, but now they're not coming at all. And I thought a Harry Potter game would have been brilliant, especially made by Skydance. You know, these guys make really high quality titles. So yeah, there it is. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.